And we're back, and we are discussing 1987's Raising Arizona, a film written by Joel and Ethan Coen, who have gone on to have a long, fabulous career. But I think this is one of their brightest movies. It's hilariously funny, even 30 plus years later. It tells the story of H.I. McDonough, brilliantly portrayed by Nicolas Cage, who is a repeat offender, as he's told by the parole board, who consistently gets himself in trouble for whatever reason. And
no, he keeps robbing convenience stores.
Right, but the reason why is never really fully delved into. But I'm assuming
he always
bad
does it,
circumstances.
and he always does it with an empty gun because he doesn't want to hurt anybody, and then it's not considered armed robbery.
Right. And in his many stints going into prison, he meets with Edwina, otherwise known as Ed, who is the person that takes the photographs and I guess fingerprints.
She's a cop at the I guess Tempe, Arizona police department, and she's the one who's always doing his mugshot.
Oh, also brilliantly portrayed by the always fabulous Holly Hunter.
Yes.
So what did you kids think about the movie, Olive?
I liked it a lot.
Yeah? What'd you like about it?
It was just hilarious.
It is hilarious. What was your favorite part?
That huggy scene.
When he gets the Huggies from the convenience store.
Yeah.
And that whole chase
the big
scene.
Wild chase ensues.
The dogs.
The music.
The cops.
The dog. The cops.
And the yodeling music in the background. That is one of the funniest things on film.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Running
still
through
holds
those
up.
people's
Houses.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah. I mean, it's, again, amazing. 30 plus years later, and it's still as fresh and as funny and as great as it was all those years ago. G, what was your favorite part other than running around in the houses?
When that guy blows up.
That was fantastic. That was fantastic when Smalls gets it. What was your favorite character? Who was your favorite character, Olive?
The baby.
You like Nathan Jr.?
Yeah, he gets it easy in that movie.
He's so cute. What about you, Jay? Who was your favorite character? Did you have one? No? Okay. It's a pretty solid ensemble piece. William Forsythe?
William Forsythe is Neville or Evel.
Evel.
John Goodman
is Gale.
They're two.
Trey Wilson is Nathan.
Two escaped convicts who were fellow inmates at the jail that.
I thought they were brothers.
They are brothers.
They're brothers, but they were inmates. They were fellow inmates of HIs.
Yeah, that's how they met.
At group.
So this was your pick.
Yes.
So
I picked this because I have loved this film for so long, and I remember there was a point as a kid. No, not really as a kid. It was definitely after I had come home from college, and I would be hanging out with my friend Mike. For some reason, Channel 11 decided to broadcast this film like every other day. And we probably watched it every other day just because it was that good and that funny. Everybody's performance is just outstanding. It's one of my favorite performances by Nicolas Cage. He's done a lot of crazy stuff, but this was great. His narration in it, the tone he took, the look he had, he looked like such a sad, messed up mutt.
Yes.
He looked like just some mangy dog who you could see he had a good heart, but he was sort of in between wanting to be a good man and wanting to be an outlaw. And I think that outlaw thing plays a part because he even says it when he's looking at Nathan. He's like, "Oh yeah, look at him. He's going to be an outlaw or something like that."
Yeah, you can see it in his eyes. And also Evel makes that connection too.
Yes, Evel makes the same thing. And everything about this film is good. The music is just pitch perfect for it. During the fight scenes, that sort of that yodeling version of Ode to Joy that they play throughout the whole thing, and it's just great. It's
Yeah.
just really, really good. And there's not a moment in the film where you're just like, oh, they're spinning their heels, wasting time. This is
Start to
compact.
finish.
Yeah, this is
Just
like concise, solid storytelling from start to finish. Even like the sort of like whirlwind way they begin it, they show they get you like grounded in the beginning of the story with him constantly getting arrested, getting mugshots, going to jail, getting paroled, getting arrested, getting mugshots, and like sort of like how this budding relationship begins between him and Ed. It's just great. And the scenes in prison, like the montages where like in the beginning it's just he's doing his thing and he's going to therapy, and the jokes that they're running off. John Goodman, he says something along the lines of, you got to put your career before your family sometimes, you know. I said it again.
It's all right.
And that other guy who gets, why do you feel trapped? And he's like, sometimes I get the menstrual cramps real bad.
No, real hard.
Real hard. Oh my god, I love that. I love that. And then when he realizes he's in love with Ed and he's in the prison cell, just like sitting in his bunk, and the guy above him is just rambling on about crawdads. It's just so ridiculous and so funny. And then he goes in and proposes to her, and she's taking a mugshot of some guy, and he's just like, hi, Daryl. It's so good. There's not a moment lost in this movie. The script is so tight, and there's a lot of little things in it that it's a film that just makes me feel good every single time I see it. And the end, that narration bit when he's describing that dream. It's lovely. Very lovely. It's so touching.
Yeah.
I mean, I could rant about this for a long time. It's such a good movie.
I wholeheartedly agree. I also have seen this probably not as many times as you have seen it, or as many times as I've seen Overboard, which is now in my mind to force everyone to sit through. But yes, start to finish, solid storytelling. The Coen brothers did an amazing job of building this world. It's not a long movie. It's probably like an hour and a half, maybe even less than that. But just going from point A to point B in this film is outstanding storytelling. They do a lot of quick world building using... It's funny because the voiceover could have gone poorly had it been not written as strongly as it was. But I think that because they had this phenomenal idea and they fleshed it out and it came on the page so excellent, that's why you have such an impactful storytelling device there. Because again, sometimes, I mean, voiceovers can be lazy, I think, at times. It's not so in this case, obviously, but it's a device that could have gone south.
Yeah, sometimes they just use it way overboard when just trying to explain something that they're not showing. Right. That could have been better told just by showing
it.
us.
Right. And I think in this film, it adds another layer, it adds another nuance to it that really blends itself well and is done well. And then just it's funny when you said the whole thing about like a dog, like kind of like a mutt for Nicolas Cage. That's actually a really great description of him, because he is like you said, he's got one foot in trying to be a decent man, but also live in this outlaw's existence, whether he found it romantic or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, he is a decent human being. He knows what's right. And
I think the way the film
progresses,
it becomes physical, this battle between him, lawlessness and being an outlaw, and it's sort of that's what I feel like. If you want to really like dig deep into the movie, that's what Smalls is. Smalls, if you're unaware, is a character that appears in the film who is this warthog from hell, outlaw bounty hunter who is practically supernatural. There's a point where he actually gets shot in the hand and fire comes out of his body.
Right.
And there's a scene in the film during like the big climax where Nicolas Cage and Smalls are fighting.
Tussling, yeah.
And Smalls has the same tattoo as Nicolas Cage,
which is the Woody
Woodpecker.
Yeah.
And to me, that always, like, I was like trying to think. I've always tried to think why do they have that in common? Why do they have it? It's the exact same tattoo.
Thing. It's not in the same place.
It's not in the same place, but it is the exact same tattoo. And in my mind, it was, when I thought about it, High in this moment he's ridding himself of this outlaw belief. He has to get rid of it, and that's what this battle with Smalls is. And it is even more personified. You could live a life of lawlessness, or you could live a life being lawful. And who are the two sides? There's Smalls, and then there's Ed. And what is Ed dressed as? She's wearing, for some reason, even though she hasn't been a cop
she had resigned, right?
Yeah, for at least a couple of years now. She's wearing her uniform. She dressed as a police officer. She is the law. And High, it's either High himself dies and that's basically Smalls takes over, or High does the right thing. Goes straight. Turns straight, does the right thing, becomes a law-abiding man. And that's like sort of what it felt like to me. And then at the end,
yeah,
we say goodbye to Mr. Smalls.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's funny that you brought that up. I too, when I watched it, associated the Woody Woodpecker head tattoo with him coming to this epiphany that he really had to kind of man up. He'd been a child this whole time. Yeah. Devoid of responsibility, even though he did that, I guess, soulless work of working in the factory or wherever he was working. But it was really high time for him to just man up and be the man that he could be, the man that Ed knew was in him. And again, like you mentioned before, he didn't have bullets in the guns. He inherently was a good person.
Yeah.
He was just goofy and just awkward, and he makes this comment about how he's not a three-piece suit guy.
Right.
And that's fine.
Yeah,
you don't need
to be a three-piece
suit guy. And that's fine with that. And I think that was also a nice scene when he's in the car with her after the big chase in the supermarket, and he says to her, the baby accepts me for who I am. It's high time that you also accept me for who I am. And I think that was also a bone of contention here, because I think that even though it wasn't expressed, I feel like Ed's character, not that she looked down on him, but she just was very, I don't know if judgy is the word, but it was almost like she had that over him, like, you're the screw up, you're the criminal kind of thing.
In a way, but I think she saw there was good in him.
Right, because
she saw there was good in him, and she was definitely disappointed that
when he would do stupid things,
he felt he was basically tumbling back into this life, especially. And the thing that's funny is that it happened right at that moment, the moment that they take the child.
Right.
That night, Evel and
Gail
Gail bust out of prison. They come birthed out of the ground.
That's a great scene.
And then they're like, oh, that's the first step. Now he ends up punching his boss in the face.
Right.
And then that's the next step. Third step, he's robbing a convenience store for no reason.
Right.
Fifth step, he's going to work with Gail and Evel to do something bad.
Right.
And it was sort of like a snowball effect where that was all happening. And she sees that happening. And the issue that I think was tearing her apart was she was the law and order. But it was her idea to take the kid.
Right.
She had thrown that away. If
upholding of the law that she was sworn to do as a police officer.
If the snowball effect was going to begin somewhere, it began with her pushing that first step. They have more than they need. Because there was a point where they could have just backed away. Right. He came back down without
the baby, right.
And she was like, you go up there and you get me a baby.
They have more than they can handle. Yeah.
So that was her conflict. The fact that she started this whole thing. And it started because of something that she wanted so deeply and that she got. And now that she got it, it wasn't really working out the way that she had hoped. It's like that whole thing, you know, in the part of the story where you get what you think you were looking for the whole time.
And then it's not exactly...
It's just not exactly that.
That, right.
That conflict in the story that makes a good story great.
Yes.
And, so God, this film was so good. Everybody has something going on. She has her conflict. Hai has his conflict.
The brothers have their own.
The brothers, they just can't make it on the outside without doing those things. And you could see them sort of melting towards the end when they're with the baby.
Yes. Yeah. Because I think even though they are predisposed to do bad things, I think they too are decent people. In their own way.
Yeah. I don't think they wanted to actually murder anybody.
No.
Like they were shooting guns and whatnot.
Right. But I think it was more to scare people.
It was more to scare people, you know, especially Evel. He was,
I'll come back in 5 minutes.
I'll come back
and check on y'all. Yeah, that was hilarious.
And when John Goodman, when Gale, he gets rattled by that old guy in the Grange place. He's like, "Well, what do you want me to do, youngster? You want me to freeze, or you want me to get on the floor?"
That was so great. Nothing is wasted in this film. Start to finish, excellent storytelling, a superb script.
Yeah.
Phenomenal acting by everyone, even secondary characters. I mean, I don't know the name of the woman who plays Florence, Arizona, but even her small scenes, just over the top, when she's screaming, when she sees that the baby's not there. Yeah. Just everything about this movie, all the details.
The guy who played Nathan, Arizona, he was excellent.
He is fantastic. Trey Wilson.
He was outstanding.
He was also one of these character actors.
For the scenes that he got, he made the most of it. His character was great. He had some awesome lines in that movie.
Yeah. Really great fleshed out characters. His final interaction with Hyde and Ed at the end was lovely.
Which also was like sort of like a bit of a turning point for that character, because up until that point you think he's just some huckster,
right?
Like hard, telling people, my employees wouldn't know how to wouldn't piss themselves if their pants were on fire
unless I told them to. Yeah.
And then he has like these words of wisdom for them, and
it's very simple. It comes from the heart. I think that scene, even though nothing's being conveyed, when he says like, "Why did you do it?" and he sees Nicolas Cage's hand on Holly Hunter's, and it's almost like, well, he went through this, right? Because that's how they got their 5. They were super blessed because of the fertility drugs. Yeah. So it was also, he also has an epiphany, right? And it's like, these people are hurting. And it's funny, and I think you and I have said this, we sometimes don't even remember what our lives were before our children. Our children, as crazy as they make us, they are a blessing. We love them deeply. We would be completely lost without them. I don't even want to think about bad scenarios because that just puts me over. And just, it was lovely because it was like, here you have this thing, starting a family, and that's the thing that propels him to want to do better, to be a good man, to be a great spouse, to be a contributor to society. And then that end sequence too, just lovely. It's nice when they wrap that up, because sometimes you'll watch a movie and it just ends, and sometimes you're left wondering, well, what could have happened after that, right? I'm sure there are movies where you think that, and it was nice to have kind of that closure here, that sewing up of the loose ends, to see how everything panned out, and to know that Ed and Hai had that happy ending was extremely, extremely gratifying. Because I'm sure that, as in most relationships, they have a rocky start. Their relationship really wasn't built on maybe the most strongest of foundations. I mean, I think she saw him every 2 years as he was getting his mugshot. So you have that, but at the end, she saw something in him. His love for her made him want to be better, and together they were great for each other, and they
Yeah.
brought out the best in each other.
Yeah.
And of course, as human beings, you make mistakes along the way. That's going to happen. But I think,
Yeah, I mean they had a big stumble.
Yes, a big one.
Kidnapping a child.
not the way to do it,
Not the way to
ladies
do
and
it,
gentlemen.
but-
Not the way to do it. But at the end, everything turned out how it should, and for the best. And I'm very appreciative to the Coens for bringing such a fantastic story. Again, 30 plus years. I think I looked at you when I looked on IMDb. I was like, did this
1987.
movie really come out in 1987? That's crazy. Crazy.
We're
Wait,
old.
The time is
are you
flying.
gonna check out the Parents Guide on this one?
I was, and I started to, and then I stopped myself because that is just crazy town.
Come on,
Yeah,
Mama,
let's-
I want to
let's-
listen
yeah,
to the Parents
let's
Guide.
hear Let's hear how ridiculous the parents' guide is.
All right, let's see. According to IMDb, there are 4 instances of sex and nudity. Number 1, 3 scenes involving showing the covers of Playboy and Jugs magazines. Number 2, a man says he feels trapped in a woman's body and goes on to briefly describe his experience. However, this is done for comic effect. Number 3, dialogue about infertility, wife swapping, menstruating, and other similar topics. Number 4, a woman is jumping on a man with passion when he enters home. Both are fully dressed. So I'm not really sure what the sex and nudity is here, IMDb.
Yeah, that's
But yeah,
Violence and gore is 2.
there's 2 instances of violence and gore. A man beats another man. Mild blood is shown. A man on a motorcycle is blown up by grenades. This is implied, but a smoking boot is seen falling to the ground. Several armed robbery scenes are shown throughout the film. Number 2, a man blows up an innocent rabbit with a grenade. He then later shoots the lizard and sets a yellow flower on fire. Profanity.
1.
1 F word, 12 S words, mostly said by one particular character. 3 A words, 7 SOB, 8 damn, 1 paired with God, and 10 hell.
Oh my God!
Wow. Someone's keeping track.
10 hells. Isn't that from Game of Thrones?
1 instance of alcohol, drugs, and smoking. Cigar smoking takes place a few times. I think cigarettes, not cigars.
2 men.
Small smoke cigars.
Ah, right.
You would always
2 men
magically have one
drinking
pop
many
into a
beer
song.
cans.
Yes.
Frightening and intense scenes.
1.
Cars chases. That's improper grammar. 2 men are escaping from jail. They are seen emerging from a mud during a stormy night, screaming. A bank robber orders bank customers to lie down on the ground. A baby is left behind when the adults leave, and they are frantic when returning to find it. A man riding a motorcycle is chasing a woman who holds a baby in her hands.
Got it.
So,
Yeah, none of that really.
none of that is really over the top. It's silly. It's
Anybody could watch this film.
Yes.
There are a couple of cuss words in there,
yes. But if
Yes.
you're fine with it,
Yeah.
your child isn't going to be traumatized in the slightest. This is rated PG-13. It's 94 minutes long. It's considered comedy crime. That's interesting. I thought it was just a comedic movie.
well, there is criminal activity.
But I highly, highly recommend it. Fabulous pick.
Thanks,
Thank
Dad.
you.
Fabulous.
Fabulous.
I'm glad everybody liked it. I love
There
it when
was a
you
lot
kids
of
love
chuckling
the films that I
during
love.
during the watching of this film. I feel like we've seen it before, but I don't think we've ever sat from start to finish with the kids with it.
Yeah,
I think
I
we've
know.
come
I
in
don't think so.
different parts of it. But still holds up, and that's another thing that's really fantastic about this film. This film came out in 1987. That is 30 plus years. It's a testament to the workmanship of the script by the Coen brothers, and again, I feel like one of their best movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. One of their best movies, and probably not given the accolades maybe that it should be. I feel like everyone
I think everybody heaps praise on their later work, you know,
right.
like No Country for Old Men,
which I didn't like, and whatever. I'm sure
Fargo
and Fargo and stuff.
The more serious stuff. This was a straight comedy. I think they've done comedies recently, but I don't think anything has quite matched the level
of this. This is
Raising Arizona.
This is
Raising
a fabulous,
Arizona
fabulous film.
To me, it's the funniest thing they've ever done.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's just a brilliant movie.
Yeah, and you forget what a sensational actor Nick Cage is.
Yeah,
because he's done a lot of not so great performances. Well, not great performances. I think the beauty of Nicolas Cage is whether it's a B movie or a huge blockbuster, he is committed. He is committed to the role. Yeah. So that's the beauty of Nick Cage, and I think that in this particular film, he goes in it whole hog and it comes out with a diamond. It's a stellar performance. I feel like one of his best. I know he won an Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas, I believe, but this is sensational. You know, I was just thinking about him in Adaptation, which was also
he was fantastic.
A fantastic movie, heartbreaking but fantastic. He's an interesting cat. Ghost Rider was terrible.
Ghost Rider.
God, we paid money for that.
Paid money, and I seriously felt shame while I was watching
we left the theater.
I was like 2/3 of it in, and I felt dirty watching that. I felt like this is something I should not have. I felt like I did something bad, and my mom caught me.
Yeah, that was not good, but did phenomenally well that it warranted a sequel, which also was horrendous.
I have never actually saw that.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, only because Idris Elba's in it. But yeah, he's just top notch in this. Holly Hunter, I feel like, is always just a treat to watch.
She's always solid.
She is always solid, and I love the love between Elastigirl. That's right. I love the love between Goodman and the Coens. I love that he reoccurs.
John Goodman is always
a lot
great
in their movies, and he's also a solid actor. It's so funny, you see him now and you see him back in '87, and it's like, oh, all my favorites are getting older. This is terrible, this passage of time, but so it is. So on a scale of 1 to 10, G.
I think I will give this a 9.
A 9.
I would say it's like a 9.8 or a 9.9. It is, to me, it's close to perfect. I'll never give it 10. You'll never get me to give a movie a 10, even if I love the hell out of it. Like, I love the hell out of this movie.
Terrible.
But, oh God, this film is so good. And anytime it's on, I will watch it.
Watch it, yes, absolutely. What about you, Olive G?
10.
10!
I like the huggies.
The huggy scene is fantastic. That is fantastic. How they did that blows my mind, because you've got just people running, you've got all these
people shooting,
yeah,
all these other extra
bullets.
Yeah, I couldn't understand either.
And
but
also
even
that store manager.
But even like the women and the curlers, like there's so much going on in the frame. And then on top of that, you have a pack of dogs running. Like it blows my mind. That scene always blows my mind. It's like, how did they coordinate this? I wonder how many takes that took.
Who knows?
You've got a lot going on. But anyway, my vote is 8.5.
What?
8.5?
8.5?
Come on.
8.5.
Wow.
9?
8.5. I'm being shamed by my children. It's a fantastic movie. But this movie is amazing. You know what? You're right. This movie is a 9.
Okay, that's
This movie is a 9. You're correct.
acceptable.
Acceptable. Yes, this movie is a 9 because it has stood the test of time. And I am a huge proponent of words and storytelling. I think if you don't have a strong script, you can have all the money in the world. You're not going to have a good story. The Coens, just intelligence, humor shines through in every page of the script because the dialogue is fresh, it's funny. it's 30 plus years later and it still holds up. I know I've had this conversation with you when we watch old Honeymooners. That stuff's even older and it's like still funny to this day. It's amazing. It's amazing to me.
Who wrote Swanee River?
Yeah, we'll quote stuff from it to each other every once in a while too. So I think that is a gift. That is the power of words. That is amazing storytelling. This movie is a 9. If you have not seen it,
Horrible.
Go
do it now. Go do it now. How did we see it?
It's on HBO Max.
It's on HBO Max.
I'm sure it might be on some other platforms.
I'm sure it's on other platforms. It is from 87. It's not a new film. Get yourself in front of a TV right now and go watch Raising Arizona. That's it from us. Thanks for stopping by.
Bye.
Good night.